You're listening to The Artist Athlete, episode 134. This podcast is dedicated to CIRCUS. It's a place for professionals in the industry to share their stories, viewpoints, and information, and a place for outsiders to get a sneak peek into this world. Hey friends, fans, and foes. I'm Shannon McKenna, and I'm the host of the Artist Athlete podcast. This interview and every single other interview in the Artist Athlete catalog is brought to you by people just like you who go on patreon.com/theartistathlete and sign up to give small amounts of money every month so that I can pay for all the wonderful people and wonderful things that go into making this podcast every week so damn good. So I know I say it at the beginning of every episode, but I always mean it. Go to patreon.com/theartistathlete and sign up to become a Patreon today. Let's just get into it today, y'all. The guest of the hour is the legendary Olga Pikhienko. And yes, that's how you say her last name. She says it herself at the beginning of the episode. You can hear the whole story. But let me tell you a little bit about her first. Olga was born on February 11th, 1980 in Volgograd, Russia. Her father was a performer and her mother a costume maker. She longed to tour with them. Under her father's guidance, Olga trained and became more flexible. In 1992, she was spotted and invited to Paris, where she won gold at the Festival du Cirque du Soleil with her father. Olga then performed with renowned circuses like Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey and the Moscow State Circus, eventually taking part in Cirque du Soleil's production, Kidam. She appeared in the documentary Fire Within, which is why the title of this episode is called Fire Without, because I've been editing for a long time today, and I know it's not that funny, but I really think it is right now, so sorry about that. She was Kidam's hand balancing performer for 5 years until Cirque du Soleil invited her to take part in a new production called Verikai. She left Kidam for a starring role as La Promise, the love interest of the central character Icarus, as well as the hand balancing performer. Olga then left Verikai to do private shows and galas. In 2006, Olga returned to Kidam with her hand balancing act. She now lives in Las Vegas, where she coaches and gives interviews for podcasts, just like this one. And before I begin the interview, I do want to offer a light trigger warning. There is some mention of harmful attitudes towards food that I don't personally stand behind, and I don't think Olga does either, but I don't want to cut it out because it was just the reality of the times. So when that part comes up, it's around the 20-minute mark into the interview about, just stay alert and question for yourself what of this information is helpful and what of it is just another story from this absolutely fascinating, badass woman's life. Here's my interview with Olga Pikhienko. Can you say your last name for me?
The way they would say it in Russian, right?
Yeah.
It's Pikhienko.
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 Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, what happened is in Russia, a long time ago, French was our main language. So all the documents, everything had to be translated into French and written in French letters, yeah? Like with their alphabet.
Yeah, with their alphabet, yeah.
So it's written in French, but even when I went to France, they couldn't pronounce it correctly. So they kind of screwed that one up. Because for sure, like you don't spell it that way in the United States. If you would do it again, that's not the way you spell it.
Gotcha. I understand. Okay. Olga Pikhienko.
Pikhienko.
Incredible. Yeah. Well, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on today. Can you just introduce yourself in your own words? What do you do?
My name is Olga Pikhienko. I was born in Russia and I moved to the United States in 1992. I came here with my father and I was already working for CIRCUS. So I was doing a hand balancing act with my dad. And then when I grew up and grew a little bit higher and then he couldn't hold me anymore, I made my own act, which was a hand balancing act. And I performed with that in Cirque du Soleil for 19 years. And when my body kind of told me no more, I had a few years where it was really, really tough and I kind of got depressed and all of that. I went through very hard time. And then I refound myself again, and now I'm coaching. And actually, I'm also coming back on stage very soon, just not with the same act.
I want to start at the beginning of your journey
Mm-hmm.
and then because I already have so many questions about everything
Mm-hmm.
you just said. But yeah, so I was reading you started rhythmic gymnastics when you were 5. You started performing when you were 11 with your dad. Won gold at Cirque du Soleil when you were 12. Won in silver in Beijing when you were 13. You come from a circus family, I presume.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And how many generations back were there?
Actually, I'm second generation. So my
Okay.
father was in the circus since he was like 20 years old.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And do you remember, like, wanting to do it, or was it always just like,
Yes.
okay,
I
you were in it?
wanted to do it so much. And my father told me, actually, I don't want you to be in the circus because it's just like so hard for a woman to, for a girl to be in such a hard atmosphere. It's really not for girls. So he kept telling me that since I was like probably 4 or 5 years old. It's like, no, don't even think about it. But then I continued begging him, and I guess I left him no choice.
Wait, why did he say that circus was hard for
I
girls?
don't know. At that time, I guess he, judging from his experience, yeah,
Uh-huh.
he didn't want me to be a performer. He just said it was too hard, and it's just not something that he wants me to do.
Okay. Gotcha.
I guess there was a little bit different plans when I was growing up. I was doing rhythmic gymnastics, and I was actually doing really well. They were going to send me to um, Olympic team in Moscow, but it just never happened that year because before you could join the Olympic team at 8 years old, and they moved it that year, and you could join only at 9 years old. So that was a breaking deal for my father. He's like, no, I guess I'm gonna coach her and I'm gonna take her to the circus.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what made him change his mind so quickly, but I got what I wanted to do, so I didn't mind.
Love that. Love that. So you performed with your father for years and years, and then you said you got a bit taller and couldn't anymore. What was that transition like out of it? Did he help you with that? How did you
Oh
guys
yes,
decide that like
yes.
the best thing to do would be for you to go on as a soloist?
Yes. So when we already created the act with my dad, as soon as we went on stage, probably that same week, as soon as my head was like a little bit more clear, he's like, okay, you're going to learn hula hoops, you're going to learn hand balancing, and you're going to learn trapeze, you're going to learn like some straps. So he gave me so much work after that that I knew that I was going to be taller. Yeah, because my father is not short. Yeah, so judging by him, I was never going to be short. So we could not do that act forever from the beginning. I knew that. And I actually stayed pretty small for a long time. So we got to do some good years. Yeah. And since I was preparing so many acts, when we finished performing with my dad, 2 weeks after we stopped performing, there was an audition for Cirque du Soleil, and I heard about it. It was 12 hours from us. We were living in Louisiana at that time, and we drove to Florida. Was it in Miami? It was Tampa. It was Tampa. So we drove to Tampa for 12 hours, and then I did the audition for Cirque du Soleil, and I got it. The audition was interesting. I think I was the only one who showed them like 5 different acts, and they
Hmm.
were like, "Oh, I guess they had a lot of choices, so that was easy for them to choose.
Were you invited or did you just kind of show up? Was it
I
like an
just showed
open
up.
audition? You just showed up? So they were
Yeah,
like, this random, incredibly talented Russian girl from Louisiana is just like smoking this audition?
kind of.
That's so
They
boss.
even laughed at me. They're like, "Can you do anything else?" I'm like, I can show you something else." And they were like all laughing. They're like, "It's okay. It's enough. It's enough."
Well, it's wild because, yeah, I mean, I guess this was the time before, YouTube or the internet where,
Yes,
like,
yeah.
if you could film something and put it out there, it would go viral and you probably would have at that age. But, like, there just wasn't, like, a way to spread video or
Yeah,
information the same way that we can now.
yeah, yeah.
That's so funny. I don't know I never even realized, like, the idea of you having to audition for Cirque du Soleil kind of cracks me up. But yeah,
Ah.
so you got it. Did your parents go on tour with you? How did that?
No,
Okay.
no. So as soon as we came back from that audition, I was like waiting for that call. I have no idea, like, no, they didn't tell me that I made it. No, they were just really pleasantly, well, they were just happy with what they saw, and I could see that. That's all. But I remember there was a phone call, and my father answered the phone, and he started speaking English. Usually, like, no one really calls us to, in English at that time.
Yeah.
And then he started speaking English, and I was like, in front of the phone, I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, is it Cirque? Is it Cirque? Is it Cirque? He's like, go away. I'm like, is it Cirque? Is it Cirque? He's like, yes, go away. And I just ran into my room. I packed 2 suitcases. I brought them out. I was like, you cannot stop me. You cannot stop me. I'm going.
Oh my God.
So he's like, they're not offering you what you were doing. They're offering you like a group act. You're not going to be happy with that. I'm like, I'm going. I don't care.
Wait, so they offered you a group act, not a
Yes,
solo?
they offered me a cordelise act. Yeah, which is climbing
Okay. In
a la
Kidam?
aerial. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And as I got there, I actually practiced it for like 2 weeks, and there were a little bit upset people that they didn't want me to be in that, so they took me out, and they gave me the surso, yeah, the hoop.
Yeah.
I did that for about 2 weeks, and then they took me out again. They were like, the girls are not happy, so
Wait, let's just come out and say it. Like, why weren't the girls happy, Olga?
I don't know.
I think I do.
So they decided they're actually going to give me a solo act, and they still didn't give me canes. They gave me straps, and I hated it. It was hurting my arms so much. I could do it. I could do all of it. It was not my passion. And it's just, every time I came to the training, I was just like miserable. And I always like told them, like, there are bruises on my hands, and they never went away. And then one day, because I came from hand balancing act, and I actually liked it, I was always upside down, and I was competing with guys. I was doing like 1-arm presses. Who's going to do more, me or him? And it was so much fun. And then one day, these bunch of guys who were in charge of all the studio, in charge of like who's working where, like if they needed change. So they got to make all of these decisions. There were about 5 of them standing in the studio, and one of them are like, why you guys are being so stupid? Why are you not giving, like, she's always upside down. She's always upside down. Every time I come here, she's upside down. Give her canes. And they're like, you know what? Maybe we will. So they gave me canes, and then the magic started.
That's so wild to me. First of all, because I feel like aerialists are a dime a dozen, and maybe it's like I'm thinking about now at Cirque. Like you can't throw a rock without finding like a great female straps artist. But to like curate a good hand balancer who can like do 1-arms and do the kind of technique that you do, like it takes so long. And like, how
Yeah.
could they not see that?
I guess they saw it just a little bit later.
It just took them a while, yeah. And maybe it was like, because were they in creation for Kidam at the
Yeah,
time? So
yeah.
so like they didn't know that the act could exist and be what it was.
And they also took me. Okay, so this is very, very never. I don't think this ever happened again at Cirque. So when they took me, they said, like, look, the cast is complete. The casting, we don't need anybody. But because we really like you, we're going to take you, but you don't have a spot in the show. There's nothing for you right now, but we want to take you just to see maybe something could come up, So,
Okay.
yeah. And actually they also took me, they didn't pay me for a whole year for that. I was working for them for free for a whole year. Yep.
What?
Until they were like, okay, you're actually part of cast.
Wait, no. Were you performing during this year?
We were doing,
or you were just in development? Or
we were doing in development, but everybody got still paid. It was a whole year.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. The truth is coming out. This is
Right?
juicy. Olga, what the fuck? Sir, get it together. Okay, so finally they were like, this girl's a freaking badass. Let's put her on canes and make her. I mean, that act is iconic. It is the act. So many people watch that to this day and
Mhm.
are like, that's what made me do circus. That's what made me be a hand balancer. That's what made
Aw.
me do the thing. So, how did you start to create that act? Did you have the idea of the character? Did you work with the
So,
director? Like, what was the journey of that?
oh, the character, it was a very fun process. So there was a choreographer, Deborah Brown. I love her. Like she did so much for me, like in terms of like pulling everything out of me that you saw on stage. Just thank you to Deborah Brown. And of course, Franco Dragon. These are the two people that actually believed in me more than anybody else from that casting. So how did it all start? So because I was doing hand balancing act with my father, and I was in love with that act. Act was just like a masterpiece, right? And all the tricks that we did with my dad, they did not. Some of them did not really exist, even in the sport industry. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was very rare to see some of the tricks that we were doing. So I thought it would be so cool if I could repeat everything that I did with my dad on my own. So all the tricks existed with my father already. I just took them and put them on canes, except for the pirouette. Pirouette happened very accidentally. I did not expect it, just came out of nowhere, that trick. I actually decided to like just spin on one arm, and then I thought like it's too slow, so I wanted it a little bit faster. So when I closed my legs, I just went for such a spin, but I didn't fall. I caught it, and I was like, "Oh my god, I think I have a new trick." But it didn't work for like I couldn't do it again for like 6 months. It was
Oh
like
no.
on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off. Even when I was already performing like on stage, it would be like I'd probably land 50% of it. Yeah.
Did you put it in every night even though you only landed it 50% of the time and were just like, I just
Well, yeah, in the
have a really
beginning,
quick.
like all the
Yeah.
tricks, because it was so new. Like I didn't perform by myself. It was just like, yeah, we did staging and we did rehearsals. But as soon as you go on stage, it's like everything is different, right?
Yeah.
It's like
100%.
whatever you had clean, it's not clean anymore, because you have nerves. You're like a little bit freaking out. But then you learn as you go not to get yourself so hyped
Yeah.
up. Yeah, backstage I would have it 10 out of 10. It's just on
Okay.
stage I would not lend it.
I understand.
Yeah.
That's really neat. And I feel like I need to for the listeners just that like the difficulty when you go from like hand to hand, obviously, like you're where it's a challenging athletic endeavor, but you have someone underneath holding you. So they're kind of helping you balance.
Yes.
Whereas on
Yeah.
canes, like all the skills that you were transferring, you then had to balance yourself
Yes.
in those same
Oh,
skills.
yes. Also, when you're an acrobat, this happened to me. My dad wouldn't let me balance on my own for too long because if I balanced all my tricks on my own, like for a minute or two, not getting off, I would have my own way to catch the handstand. And then if I would
Mhm.
do it in his hands, I would screw him over because I would do it myself and he would go for it too. So we would both have the same action and then we would fall. So as long as I worked with my dad, he was very, very clear. He's like, you're doing all the tricks, but you cannot balance on your own.
That's so interesting. I mean, it makes sense, but that's so interesting. So the only way you could like train your hand balancing would be on your father's hands.
At that time, yes.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
as soon as I was done, then
Yeah.
freedom.
Amazing. So you were with Kidam for how long?
So that show I did two times. The first time I was with Kidam, I stayed with them for 6 years. Yeah, and I transferred to a different show. Then I took some time for myself, and then I came back to Kidam for another 6 years before
Mhm.
I transferred to another show.
Wild.
So altogether, 12 years.
And what is it like to inhabit a character? How did it change over those 12 years? Kidom's my favorite show, so I just have to ask
Yeah.
all about it.
So the character was, I was pretty young. I was 15 years old when I started with them. So the character was just a little girl. I had a skirt, and it was like, even my music was different. Actually, the music never made it to the CD, even the one that was made after. But the first one, it was just like, even the music was written for like a little girl. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So after when I turned 18, they were like very quickly like, okay, how can we fix this? They cut my skirt, they put some holes in my costume. They
Yes.
just like, okay, new entrance. Like, so just fix it up and put me back on stage.
Cool.
And it kept evolving like
Yeah.
all this time. Like every time we had Deborah Brown that came in to work with us, she would just completely change, not your character, but just choreography. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just evolved for all these 12 years.
The next thing that everybody wanted me to ask you about was your experience on Verikai, and specifically Fire Within, the legendary documentary that inspired so many people.
Mm-hmm.
How was it like to change? Because you went from Kidam and you went from that creation experience. What was the difference of working with Dragon and then Champagne
Champagne. Mm-hmm.
was
Dominique
the
Champagne.
director for Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How was it different, or how did it change working from one director to the next and one concept to the next?
Well, they have different ideas. Actually, the way Cirque created their shows from Franco to any other, well, at that point it's Champagne, yeah, Dominique Champagne. I didn't feel so much. Of course, as a person, he's different. Of course, the way he talks is different, but a very similar way they would still create the shows. I would say Franco is very, he would drag everything out of people more than he would say like, oh, I can see this kind of character, can you do that for me, so everything had to come from you. Yeah.
Mm.
With other directors, it was more, they already had a plan, you just had to make it come true. Yeah.
To prepare for this interview, I was watching like clips from it. And there was one where they were asking you about your reaction to watching Fire Within. And you said, I would sit and sometimes I would go, oh man, is that what I look like from the side?
Oh my God, I still say that every time I would film myself. I'm like, is that what I look like? Oh my gosh.
Like what do you mean by like that you're amazed at what you could do? Like that you don't realize that like your arms are so big? Like that your arms are big, but like what do you mean by that?
I don't know, just sometimes I would act silly and then I would watch it again. I'm like, oh my God. Just that.
Yeah. I feel like okay, so there's so much, especially to be like at a really high level, to be a professional, you have to have this level of like perfectionism and idea in your mind about what you want to look like, how the trick wants to feel, how you want it to go. How do you find a balance between like that and then being like a happy, healthy human being?
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I guess this was where my father did his really good work since I was really a kid. Everything we did at training, it was very, very, very serious. It was like you gave 100% like every single day in training, and not only on when you perform on stage. But as soon as we would finish the training and I would go, I remember like as soon as we would leave the door, there would be days, of course, when my dad wasn't happy with the training, I thought, and of course it would make me sad. And on the street, I would be, Dad, like I'm so sorry for this. He's like, stop. We're out of the studio. We're not talking about work anymore. That's it. He's like, you want me to buy you an ice cream? Let's go. So he made it like he separated so well that when I was by myself performing already, yeah, I had the same concept. When I'm training, it's training. When I'm off, I don't even think about it. That it just took the pressure off of me, and I could be happy again, because it's like you have to let it go. The same thing as when you're in a bad mood and you're coming to the training, you can't train like that. You have to leave your problems behind the door you just came in, like It's like from personal problems to whatever you're going through, you can't bring it in with you. So the same thing happens when you stop training.
I love that philosophy actually, because I know people who are, I mean, very like opposite of that, where like their work is their life, and it's like everything that they do, every bite of food that they take or don't, like all everything, it consumes them, and it's like a lifestyle,
Right,
you
it's
know.
a lifestyle, which you're right, because you do have to think about what you're eating. I mean, but
Mm.
it becomes natural, like you set it up this way, and I mean, like, so for me, it was like pizza, no. Burger, no way. I remember coming to the first time I walked into the kitchen of Cirque du Soleil, and I remember like the head coach of Montreal. Yeah, he was also my guardian. So when I left my family, I lived with him. So he would take care of like a lot of the talks. So he took me in and he's like, okay, so I want to walk you through the kitchen. He's like, look at these salads, look at these, like all of these, look at this. He's like, this is all for you. He's like, come with me. All the hot meals, here's some vegetables, here's some meat, here's some fish. It's all for you. You can have all of that. Come here, come here. He's like, okay, you see these? Because the fridge with all the like cakes and all the sweets, it was up above our heads, so the food would be here and the sweets would be up on the higher level. He's like, just don't look up. Just forget it exists.
No.
Yeah, so
Oh my god. So out of sight, out of mind, and you just didn't think about it.
right.
There it is.
Yeah.
I might cut that part out. I don't want people, I don't know, getting too crazy about all of this.
Yeah, you can't get too crazy. You have to have a balance. You can't take all the pleasure like away from you, because then what? Like in 10 years, I guess that will make you maybe regret a few things. No,
Yeah.
like I say, just have moderation.
Oh, hey there. I just wanted to interrupt this interview real quick to just say one real quick little thing about myself, which is that I am not only the host of the Artist Athlete podcast. No, no, no. She is a business woman, and I run a whole company dedicated to the education and inspiration of circus artists. That goes from people who are just doing it, weekend warriors, as a hobbyist, recreationally, or if you're a professional, you've put in the hours and you need more resources, go to theartistathlete.com. There are a ton of recorded workshops, online manuals and ebooks, everything you could possibly need from me and from some guests on this show about everything from nutrition to training your shoulders to really specific aerial moves that you need to master. Again, theartistathlete.com. And just because you went there from listening to this podcast, use code PODCAST and get 15% off your entire purchase. That's right, theartistathlete.com. Use code PODCAST at checkout for 15% off your entire purchase. And have a great day. Back to the episode. Psychologically, you talk about like being able to like leave your personal life at the door when you train, and then leave your training or your performing life, at the tent flap when you leave the work. Do you have anything? Do you do breath work? Have you studied anything to kind of like help you in that? What goes through your head before you start to perform?
Well, you kind of like get into a zone, whatever that means for you. Like I saw some people like they're with their headphones. They're like, you really can't talk to anybody at that point. Yeah. As soon as I started warming up for my act, which was like 30-40 minutes before I had to go on stage. And it's like, even if somebody comes to talk to you, if you ask me right after the show, like, what was the conversation? I won't be able to tell you, because I'm so much in the zone that it's like, whatever you're telling me, it's not registering it. I can't even hear you, really. It's like, that's what I remember about it. And it was so, the closer you are to go on stage, yeah, the more and more you're like in the zone. Right before it, I just remember like being like in a bubble almost, just because like you get stressed out. And for me, I had to get that out of my system. I would probably find like a dark corner where there's no light at all, and I would make myself balance just like on tippy toes, like just almost like you're doing a meditation. Yes. Because when you go on stage, like there's nothing else that exists. It's you, you're feeling, and you can't really even think about your tricks that much. It's all automatic at that point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I only felt the music. For me, that was very, very important. I had to be so, like, music was so important for me in the act. It's almost like I tried to be one with music, and it gave me such an amazing feeling. It's almost like what they talk about, like when you're doing meditation and you get to the state where you're just so ecstatic. It's like that feeling when you go on stage.
And do you try to get to that every time? Is it like sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not?
It's sometimes it's not. When
Yeah,
it's like a
okay.
very early show, you're like, oh my god,
You're like, "That's a matinee. I don't need
yes,
this."
no, it's like no, like for that show,
Yeah.
actually, it was very just get it done. I don't think the nerves even came out at that point.
You mentioned at the very beginning, you said there was a time where you knew and your body knew that it was kind of time to stop. Well, you
Yes,
thought it was time to
yes,
stop, and then you
yeah.
started again later, but, what was that for you? Were there certain signals? Like, what?
I hurt my back,
Okay.
and I didn't understand where it came from. It didn't. It felt like there was nothing wrong with my vertebrae or anything, but I felt extreme amount of pain coming from my ribs. I even went to the doctor and I'm like, look, I think I broke my rib because I can't breathe, I can't turn. It was such a horrible feeling. And they did all the tests. They're like, no, you didn't. There was nothing. There's nothing. So I couldn't understand why I had so much pain, and the doctors told me like I had nothing,
Yeah.
But then they found something. They were like, you need a surgery," and I was like, "Okay, I'm done. I think I have to finish performing." It wasn't that fast though. I actually did not want to stop performing. The doctors gave me so much painkillers. Yeah, so I thought like, well, that's the only way I can do it right now. Yeah, I didn't understand that I could actually hurt myself even more. I mean, yes, I understood that, but I didn't think that would actually happen to me. So I did hurt myself even more, being on these painkillers. And I also, because I took it for a while, I think it was like about 4 months, it started to thin my bones and I broke my foot.
Oh,
Just,
shit.
yeah, I fell off my canes and I twisted my ankle, and it was such a break, like it was an open break. So I healed and I went back on stage and I broke my foot again 2 weeks after that. So I was like, the first one, I was like, it's a sign. I think it's a sign. I think I have to stop, because all of this, everything that I was going through, I was like, this is wrong. I can't even be on stage like that. And then the second time I broke my foot, I'm like, definitely a sign. And that's it.
Mm.
I stopped as soon as that happened. But then I was going through a hard time, and at one point, it was actually a few years later, like it was a long time. I started listening to some self healers and just people talking about how important it's to think positive and how negative thinking could screw up your body. So I was like, oh my god, this is when I'm listening to this, I'm like, maybe this is what happened to me, because if there is like absolutely no injury in my body, still feeling so much pain, I felt pain for like 6 years after. Yeah, I
Ugh.
still felt the same pain.
In
It
your
just
rib
never.
or in your foot
Yeah,
or
in
what?
my
In the
rib
rib.
and my lower back,
Okay.
it was really painful even to walk. If I would
Wow.
drop something on the floor, it would be super hard for me to pick it up. So I went to a point like where I couldn't move at all.
Shit.
And
Wait,
then at
Olga,
one
so
point,
wait, what were you doing for, like, money and, like, how are like, 6 years of being in this kind of.
I started coaching already.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you were, like, coaching
So,
and okay,
yeah.
gotcha, gotcha.
So I was listening to these self healers and I started to understand, like, I started asking like these questions that they were talking about, like, why am I not happy? Why? I was waiting for this moment all my life since I started working so early. I thought like, I can't wait until I stop. I don't want to be old when I stop. I want to have a
Oh.
family. I want to do things. I want to have a life. And I'm like, you have all of that. You have all of that. Why aren't you happy? And then again, like just all of these thoughts that I was having from understanding that they're not even real. You don't even have to believe all of that. So I was like, oh my God, so I can ignore my own self. So as soon as I learned how to do that, my life started to like I started to be more happy. Things started to make more sense. I started to actually learn how to meditate. At one point, my body started coming back to me. I started to
Mm.
understand what happened, and actually they were right. It's so many, I had so many negative feelings and negative thoughts, and it's like, oh, this is not working, this is not working, oh my God. And all of that was breaking my body.
Mm.
So as soon as I fixed the way I was thinking, yeah, my body was coming back to me. And like 3 years ago, when I started all of this process, when I was like, okay, I want to see if at least like I can go to the gym and see if I drop something, it's not gonna hurt me if I bend down again, yeah. So I just wanted to be just functioning in my life normally, yeah. And I would say like it's probably possible. I just know that I will never run again, because that was like the end for me. I would be like in bed for like 3 days because my back would like lock on me just because
Oh.
I tried to run. And now I'm running, I'm jogging, I'm jumping, I'm arching again. I'm doing like everything that I thought I would never do again.
Yay!
I
Oh,
know.
I know, I was gonna
Yeah.
say your Instagram, you look beautiful. You must be doing
Thank
something over
you.
here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was like very unexpected that my body would bounce back to this. And I'm still getting better. Like just from even like a month ago, I'm like, oh my God, it's even better.
When I put out, like, "What questions do you have for Olga?" A lot of people are asking about, like, "How often do you train? Do you train every day?" These kinds of questions. What I love about when you're talking about your training, you're not even talking about the physical aspect of it, you're talking about, like, the mental aspect of it.
It's a lot of work. Yeah.
Sure.
It's a lot.
I mean, that wasn't even really a question, that was just me kind of noting that, like,
Yeah.
our thoughts do have a lot of power, you know?
Yes, they do. They do. But you asked me if I'm training every day. I'm coaching every day. So that kind of like makes, because I'm showing during, like what to do, what not to do. So I'm actually like quite active while I'm coaching, and I stretch with them a lot with my students. So, so it's kind of like like a little bit of my training, but then I have my own training after too. So, but not every day. I would say maybe at least 4 times a week.
Nice, nice. What
Yeah.
kind of students do you like to coach? Who are your people?
All kinds, from
Yeah?
young to like quite older. Yeah. I know I'm very good with beginners. I'm very, very good with like little details and very explaining to them, like to make for them to have sense, what they're doing. I know I'm super good at that, and my people tell me.
That's so cool. I love
Yeah.
hearing that. I love hearing when
Hmm.
really high level performers are good with beginners.
Yeah. But
That's
I'm good with high level too.
of
It's just they
course.
don't come a lot to me because they can do a lot on their own. Yeah, and but I did have a few very very high up there, like in what they already could do.
Are you putting together a new act now? You said you're coming back to performing.
Hmm. Yes.
What's that like?
So it's a dancing act. So now I have a partner. It's not like acrobat that I used to do where you do handstands and all the tricks, but we're more like a dancey, like ballroom with a little bit of acro. Again, we don't do like all kinds of handstand tricks, but we
Mhm.
are doing all kinds of newer version, like looking crazy tricks.
No doubt. And are you guys choreographing that yourself? Do you have, like, a director? What's that process like?
So we're working with another person right now who's actually, well, his name is Brent, and he actually was in La Rev. He was a dance captain in La Rev. So he's like one of the best people here in Vegas with ballroom, and he was kind enough to teach us. So we're doing a lot of dancing now.
Oh my god, that sounds like so much fun, and I can just see from, like, your face how excited you are
Yeah,
to, like,
yeah,
be creating
yeah.
something again.
And it's really really new. I haven't really seen a version like that. Yeah, because we came from different backgrounds. Yeah, I came from hand balancing, came from, I don't even know how you call that, adagio, but it's all the ballroom dancers. You know when they're doing tricks.
Yes.
I could compare it actually to the skaters. When they're dancing together, when they're
Yes.
skating. So
Yeah.
it's something like this, but on the floor.
What do you think you would have done if you had not been a circus performer?
People ask me that since I was like 6 years old, 7 years old. Like,
Really?
yes.
Since you were 6, you were like, "I've only been alive 6 years, guys. Like, what else am I supposed to do right now?"
Yeah, like at that age, I remember like older girls, they would ask us like, "What do you want to do? Do you want to be like you want to go to Olympics? You want to do you want to be Olympic champion?" And I would be like, "No, no. If I want to be a circus performer, so if I can't be a circus performer, I want to be a coach." That's what I would tell them. Since I was 6, I would have the same stories. It's so crazy because both of them worked out. I was a circus performer and now I'm a coach. So
Yeah, and you have cats and a beautiful, is that a pool behind you?
yes,
Ugh, I love Vegas because everybody has a pool. It's my
you have to
favorite.
come visit.
I will, I should.
Yeah,
Everyone's
you
there.
should.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna go hang out. Do you ever miss traveling?
I didn't in the beginning. I
Yeah.
think I got so tired of just working all the time that for a few years, even like if I had to meet somebody at the airport and I would go to pick them up, I would have like anxiety. I'm like, I can't. It's like, it was very, yeah, I was sick of everything. But now I don't have that anymore. Now I love everything again. I'm like, give it to me. I want to travel again. Yes.
You were, like, done.
I
That's
was done,
incredible.
like from inside and out.
Damn. Well, Olga, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Thank you so much. This is fun.
I'm so glad. I've learned so much. I can't believe Cirque didn't pay you for a year. That's wild.
I know
That's
every time I tell it to somebody, I'm like, I want to test how shocked they're going to be. I'm like, you know what Cirque did to me?
well, I low key like I'm shocked, and then also like what was happening with them like when COVID first started and how many people they weren't like checks weren't clearing then either. I was kind of like, oh, actually, like
Yeah.
I kind of see it. Do you think you'd work for them again?
I would, I don't know if I see myself in the show every single day, just,
Hmm.
but I don't know if I could split the job with somebody else. So
Or like do events or something like that. Do like a
yeah,
week or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm
Yeah.
more
That
up
makes
to
sense.
that for that. Yeah, just like
Totally.
events. So but maybe in the future, if my body's okay, I say yeah.
What advice would you give to other people who are starting out who want the Olga Pachenko career?
Well, believe in yourself. That's one. You have this fire, feed it, and let it grow.
Mm,
Yeah, and just really do pay attention to what's going on in your head because a lot of that transfers even how we see the act. There's a lot that comes from being clear, being pure, and being positive. Yeah, I would suggest really that because the tricks, all you have to do have is dedication and time and a will and a good coach for you not to have mistakes. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's such a good point. Like, that's the easy part, almost.
Yes, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the drive, when you don't have a lot of negativity, that's important. Because I think that would bring all the positive experiences, you will learn so much from you. And actually, like, you will be surprised how much will come out that you didn't even know you had just from being positive.
Where do you think all that negativity comes from? Because it sounds
Well,
like yeah.
it's this working environment is very like I'm better than you. Oh, did you see this girl? Oh, her tricks are so good, and it makes you feel like, oh, maybe mine are not good. Oh, she's doing good. Oh my god, but I'm not like this. Oh, but my knees don't look like that. Oh, but my body doesn't look like that. Oh, but I didn't do that so good today. And oh my god, so many mistakes I had. And when I'm training, oh my god, I can't do this, I can't do that. That's where it comes from.
Mm, yeah.
And then
The
it
whole
stays with you. Your body picks it up. Not right away, probably, but like from 1 year to another, then you realize that all of this, it's like your personality now. you're not a very positive person anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, it compounds over time.
Yeah. And it does bring you in trouble. It does.
I'm so happy to hear that, like, you're coming out the other side because you are loved by so many and you're such a badass. And
Thank you. Thank you so
how
much.
tragic to be you and not enjoy it when so many people
Oh.
enjoy your existence.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Olga, it was a pleasure to have you on the show today. Thank you so much. I will put all your, if people want to train with you, do you ever do online trainings or anything
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that?
yeah. This is what I do actually. Yeah. I do
Brilliant.
online
Yeah.
training. Yeah.
Cool.
Most of my training is actually online, and all my students are from all over the world.
Oh,
That's actually why I start to coach at 5:30 in the morning, because it's already evening over there. So I gotta make my
wow.
day early so I can coach overseas. Yeah.
Oh my God. How many hours a day do you coach, do you think?
Probably from 5 to 6,
Okay.
7 and 8. I'd like to keep it at 6.
Yeah, for sure. That was my interview with Olga Pikhienko. If you want to contact Olga, if you want to take a private lesson from one of the greats, you can go to her Instagram. It's Olga Upside Down, or her website, olgapikhienko.com. As for me, for aerial training tips and inspiration, you can follow me on Instagram at _artist_athlete. My website is theartistathlete.com. My Facebook's The Artist Athlete. And if you love what you're listening to every single week and you want to help out the cause, go to patreon.com/theartistathlete and sign up to become a Patreon today. Talk at you next week, friends, fans, and foes. The Artist Athlete podcast is supported solely by donations from people like you. Here's what some of those people have to say.
Hi, my name is Noah and I do hand balancing. Hi, my name is Woody and I do Leo. Thank you for listening to the Artist Athlete podcast.
Hi everyone, I'm Dominique, a ground acrobat, trapeze artist, and coach, currently bringing circus to the extremely cold but very beautiful Northern Ontario, Canada. Circus has changed my life and I'm so grateful to everyone in this community. Find me on Instagram at domupsidedown or my website domupsidedown.com.
Aloha, my name is Beth Russell and I live on the beautiful island of Maui, Hawaii. I am an aerial artist and movement instructor specializing in chakra yoga to keep me balanced and grounded. I play with silks, trapeze, lyra, rope, acro, aerial yoga and dance, slacklining, pole, bungee, and climbing. Really anything that goes up and allows me to explore 3D space. You can find my dedicated aerial page on Instagram at Maui Aerialist. If you find yourself coming to Maui, let's play.
Hey there, friends, fans, and enemies. This is Chris Alston, Patreon of the Artist Athlete podcast, straps artist and lyra performer and acrobat out of Greenville, South Carolina. So if you're ever passing through, make sure to stop in and see me and my friends. We have a wonderful space and we'd love to see you.
Hi, my name is Erica Lee. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm an aerialist. I teach performing arts to elementary school during the day and do pole and swing and rope by night. I really, really like the Artist Athlete podcast because it gives me a lot of circus goals to look forward to. It gives me a lot of insight on what's going on around the world in circus, and that's why I'm Patreon.
Hello all. Thank you for tuning in to the Artist Athlete podcast. I am Opal Schwartz from Minneapolis, Minnesota. If you're ever in the cities, feel free to stop by the Aviary Minneapolis. It's a great time. With that, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week, and goodbye.
Hey there, artists and athletes. This is Andy Smith, owner and artistic director at Saltaire Circus School in Jacksonville Beach, Florida. And I want to thank you for contributing to the Artist Athlete podcast. If you ever find yourself down in Florida, come check us out. Whether you're an artist, athlete, or someone ordinary just looking to be extraordinary, we got a place for you.